Big Bang simply means nothing from nowhere banged against nothing, and here we are.
So he doesn't realize he's an animal. He's saying I'm an animal, but he is an animal.
God gives leeway for certain things to happen, like killings. Then there cannot be any God.
He simply went to the same book cover that he had for There Is No God, crossed out the no, and put an A to say there is a God, and I'm overwhelmed by the evidence from design.
Welcome back to Real Talk. Now, our conversation on today's topic continues where my guests are saying, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God. So, earlier on, we had Ouma and as well Maurice. So, Maurice is still on the stage. Ouma is with me here in the audience area. So, I'm just going to pick up on a question that had been asked earlier on. But before that, let me introduce the new guest, who is Harrison Mumia. Harrison is the president of Atheist Society of Kenya. Welcome to the show, Harrison.
Thank you very much.
So you've listened to people who have the same, or rather lack of belief system as you, share their views and their experiences. And for you, it rings so close to home that you actually started the Atheist Society of Kenya.
Yes, first let me say I'm very proud of the atheists who have been on set. These are people who have done an awesome job in trying to debunk some of the issues we hear about prayer, you know, things about the metaphysical. The fact of the matter is that God does not exist. And, you know, it sounds a bit like I'm trying to just throw words there, but if you take time to understand how the world works, at least the steps that some of the scientists have made in trying to broaden our understanding of the world, the solar system, the sun, the moon, you know, the stars. We have a lot of information. It has come to a point where we just have to accept there is nothing metaphysical, there's nothing supernatural that is in charge of, you know, what happens to us. And this is something that I would like, at least we in Africa who are colonized by the British, and, you know, the missionaries brought the Bible to us, and the Arabs brought the Quran to us. We need to go back and step back and ask ourselves, you know, in fact, why did we even decide to believe in these books? We had our own culture, and I'm not saying we were right in believing in our own different gods. You know, science has stepped in to answer a lot of questions that were previously answered by the various religions. So it is not that we're just here to feel good about talking about atheism. I would like Kenyans to get to that point where you actually realize you're just a human being, you're an animal. That is all you are. Of course, with some conscience and everything, but you're basically an animal with blood running in your system, and that is all that you are. You will die, and that will be the end of your life. There's no afterlife. These are concepts that are difficult because most of you probably were indoctrinated into religion by your parents and everything. There's a perversiveness of the church, which I understand, you know, because they need money from your tithes. But the fact of the matter is that there is no God. Think about it. There's nothing supernatural that controls how the world works.
So what if, because I can see my audience is looking at you like they're shell-shocked. They're probably thinking that everyone we've met before was a bit more measured, but for you, you shoot straight at the hip.
You know, I feel sad when I hear people saying they believe in God, because that's like the most mistaken belief you can have in your life. And, you know, you do this for the entire of your 50, 70 years, believing in an ideology that is really not a fact. With the advent of the internet and, you know, the fact that we now can access a lot of information, I think what I would encourage Kenyans to do is to stop sitting and waiting for pastors to come to you to tell you, read the Bible, do this. You know, with the internet, there's nobody who should be able to give you information, you know. You should not allow pastors to lie to you. Who are they? What information do they have that you cannot access?
Okay, Harrison, I have with me David Ndegerege. So he's a youth pastor, and I want to ask you this before I give him room to talk. at the back of your mind, are you willing to consider the possibility that just maybe everyone else who believes in a supreme being is right and you got this wrong?
Yeah, so I mean, are you seeing this table here? Is there a table next to me? I'm just asking.
No, there is literally one table. That's my set.
There's one table. Would you say there are two tables here? I'm just asking.
One table?
There's one table. So if somebody came and claimed that there's another table or there are two tables, what would you think of that person? That's an insane guy.
So you're saying believers are insane?
What we are saying here is there is nothing like consideration. You know, if something exists, there should be a common understanding by everyone that it exists. Like you exist. In this audience, there's no doubt that you exist. But with God, and this idea of God, I think we have a lot of issues with, in fact, the definition of who God is, and even why should God exist? Why should he even create people? Why should God write a book that has very, very morally, killings that should not be happening? Why should God in the Old Testament come out as a very insecure person, writes 10 commandments, 3 of which don't really make sense? You know, the whole idea of God is ridiculous. And I think for me, there is no doubt that the idea of God there's no God totally. And the question for us atheists, I think what we just need to do is to keep educating the lost public.
Okay, so let me invite David, right? So David, I'm sure sitting there listening to what he believes is his belief system, which clearly is in direct opposition with what you believe in. What would you say to him? Please stand on up.
All right. Thank you for the chance to actually come and listen to some of these things. Well, there are many statements he's making, and not just him, but the others who are there, that are just statements. And they are metaphysical, meaning they are not scientific. So actually, like what he ended up with is speaking like God. He's saying everyone is wrong. I have this information. Follow me. It's simply, he has begun a church where he is the president. You can call him the pastor. They have fellowships. He has followers. You see, it's just another religion. It's only that, and that's why they are attacking one of the religions, which is Christianity. If it was not another religion, they would not have to attack Christianity. When somebody says, for example, I'm now enlightened, I didn't know much, I know science. What is science? The fact that science actually began with religious people, Christians actually, people who believed there's law in nature because nature is intended. There are 4 questions that everyone must answer. Origin. Somebody said Big Bang. Big Bang simply means nothing from nowhere, banged against nothing, and here we are. And so he is saying I'm ridiculous, but just listen to that. Who is more ridiculous? Who is more ridiculous? Secondly is meaning and purpose. Funny enough, I drove from Nyeri to come here. That's where my family is. Because I have some purpose and some meaning. They seem to have some purpose too. Do you know, listening like to Harrison, every 2 sentences, he has to mention the word God. Like God is very important to him, that's why he has a movement. God is important to him, that's why he has something to say. So therefore, meaning, he got it actually from God, although he thinks he doesn't exist. To say God does not exist is to say I have infinite knowledge, I have gone to all planets, known and unknown, everywhere, and I have realized there is no God. Then you are God. If you can actually do that, you are actually God. For me to say there is God, I can actually use even the ritual surrounding I have. If I say in the ritual I have, I know God, that's enough. But for me to say there is no God, I need to have infinite knowledge, and that's what you are denying. Number 3 is the issue of morality. And he has mentioned that there are things in the Bible. It's good to understand that the Bible has prescriptive knowledge and descriptive knowledge. Descriptive means this is what happened. does not mean God says go and do likewise. It just says this is what happened. And then there are prescriptive, like prescriptions from the doctor that says 1 times 3, this is what you should do. All right? So therefore, even when you're trying to say the Bible has contradictions, you can't even show any, but you can still continue and say it. And Christianity is one of the open, religions that allow you to disbelieve. And that's why most of them, if not all of them, are former Christians. Because Christianity can allow you not to believe. You are free, the freedom. Mm-hmm. I heard one of them say that they are judged. You see, where you get that from is in the Bible, where it says, do not judge. So they are quoting the Bible as they speak.
Okay.
Because why is it wrong to judge?
Okay. So let's hear from Gideon Mwalili. So Gideon, you are a lawyer. You believe in God. So just to clarify. Yes. So what's your take on all of this?
Well, I believe atheism is misplaced. I believe the people that profess atheism have a deprivation of knowledge. This is why. You see, when you go out here, everything out here in nature tells you that there is a creator. You see, as a human being, you cannot claim that you just exist. When we speak about something like morality, and not even bring something like religion into morality, because atheism is saying that there is no God. Theism is saying that there is a God. So when all religions come together, they say that there is a God. So let us just say that there is no religion, but we are claiming that there is a God. Now, atheists claim that some things are good and bad. So that is on the morality side. So what is the standard of measuring morality in every human being? Because there must be a designer, an encoder, who decided to create things or man in a particular way that they could know that this is bad and this is wrong. You see? So if an atheist declares that there is no God, but says that the Bible professes that these things are good and are bad, but God gives leeway for certain things to happen, like killings, then there cannot be any God. So my proposition is, and my view is, number one, atheists are antichrists. They are fighting one main religion, Christianity.
Is that true? You're fighting just Christianity?
No, they are feeling fought. We are not fighting anybody. He's feeling fought. Have I fought you? Therefore, the fact of the matter is, there is this aspect of Christianity in particular. For a long time, Christians, and even today, they have this superiority complex that they feel that we should not talk about some of the issues that we find not making sense in their religion. When we talk about them, they say that we are fighting. Who did we fight? Ideas are there to be criticized. You come up with an idea that's ridiculous, like Christianity, we are going to raise issues about it.
Okay, let's hear from Bill. I understand we have Bill also in the audience.
All right, thank you very much. Harrison is a friend of mine, and we engage on different platforms. I am a Christian myself. He says he stopped listening to pastors, so maybe he didn't listen much to what David had to say. I am a scientist. My background is environmental science, and that's the line I'm pursuing. And I do not find any discordance between what I believe as a scientist with what I hold to be true as a Christian. He's made some good points. The argument on morality, which, by the way, they do not have an answer for. So all this is just side shooting because they cannot engage the issue and really give a reasonable response to it. Allow me to introduce one more argument that I'd really love to hear their views on. Everywhere we look, we see the evidence of design. I look at a phone and it tells me, I can key in random figures and put it on my ear and someone on the other end hears what I'm saying. It definitely points to the reality of a designer existing. So how do we explain meaningfully, rationally, designs that do not have designers? Quick examples. The Huduma number story, I don't know how many of us have signed up for it. But with the Huduma number, and I know there are different views on it, but this is my point. With that one number, the government is trying to consolidate all information on all of us.
Right.
How many digits are they? 9 digits or so? That encodes everything about you. In the human cell, and by the way, we have billions of cells in our bodies, one cell has 3 billion letters of DNA. In other words, if it's code, 3 billion. With Huduma, it's 9 digits that say everything about you. In your cell, one cell has 3 billion of such genetic information. How do we explain that, apart from a designer? I finish with a quote of an atheist, who was an atheist for many years. In the 80s, 90s, this guy debated Christian apologists for years. He was called Anthony Flew. And he wrote a famous book called There Is No God. Yeah, pretty much like what they're saying. After the DNA was decoded in 1994, and famously, by the way, the president of the Human Genome Project,
Right.
called Colin Francis or so, they famously said the words, and when Bill Clinton received the report, his exact words were, "We are beginning to understand the language of God," yeah? Just because of the information therein. In 2004, having looked at the DNA information and all that, what came from the Human Genome Project, the guy concluded that, no, I was wrong. There actually is a God, and I liked what he did. He simply went to the same book cover that he had for There Is No God, crossed out the no, and put an A to say there is a God, and I'm overwhelmed by the evidence from design. There's many more things we